Okay, good day everyone. So today I am the reporter and I am Noriglan Luzon, and today I will be discussing the lesson 5, theories and principles in the use of technology driven lessons. But first let us define the outcomes. So the module outcomes is to identify principles and theories that are applied in technology driven teaching learning models. And number two, it is to use the learning principles and theories as basis in the development of the teaching plans and selection of instructional materials. So, now, balik na sa atong topic. So, di ba? Because ang atong topic is all about theories and principles in the use of technology-driven lessons. So, how teachers integrate technology in the teaching and learning process depends very much on their beliefs on how people learn. So, nagdepende rin na sa teacher kung paunsa ba niya i-integrate ang technology sa teaching and learning process. So, specifically, they need to know who their learners are and how their learners are and how approach instruction. So, kapila nagibalik-balik sa ata nga very important kayo nga makabaluta kinsa ba day atong mga learners and what are the strengths and weaknesses in order for us to know what approach and what techniques ang atong gamiton inig natay ipabuhat or during instruction. And then as educators, our role is to provide learning experiences that will help achieve the defined outcomes. So we all know that we have defined outcomes. We all know that we have these objectives, the learning outcomes. So our role as a teacher is to provide learning experiences, of course, na makonect sa ato ang objectives. And then uh, in this module, we will be acquainted with different theories and learning principles um, such as number one is the Dale's Cone of Experience. Number two is the TPAC framework. Number three is the SAMR. And then number four is the Assure model. And then, ang ako ang itackle is all about the lesson 1, which is Edgar Dale's Cone of Experience. But first, let us know the lesson outcomes or the objectives of this lesson. So, number 1, it is to familiarize with Dale's cone of experience and provided classroom processes or practices that exemplify each strata of the cone of experience. Number 2 is to provide examples of the various instructional materials appropriate for the given instructional context. So, number, okay. So, sa itong i-tackle is the cone of experience ni Edgar Gale. According to him, na siya saying that the cone is a visual analogy and like all analogies, it does not bear an exact and detailed relationship to the complex elements it represents. So, according to him, the cone of experience is it does not bear an exact and detailed relationship. So, di ba, we all know kung unsang itsura sa cone. So, it does not matter kung ahay gauna sa cone, kung naa ba siya sa top, kung naa ba siya sa bottom, pero dili na siya mo affect sa elements or bisan pag complex ang elements it presents. So, okay, mo to siya ang ibig sabihin. So, in preparing to become a teacher, there are elements that should be taken into consideration. So, one way of putting it in the 8 M's of teaching, and each element contributes to ensuring effective instruction. So, mo na ninyo, as nakita ninyo, mo ni siya among the 8 M's of teaching. This will help us to become effective teacher. Okay, so number 1 is the milieu or ang antong ginatawag of the learning environment. So we all know, especially we future educators, we have or we must know that the learning environment of our students matters. So dili lang kay as long as na sila sa eskwelahan and then waka kabalo nga ginabuli na dahil siya sa ilang mga classmate, di ba? We all know that learning environment matters. So kinahanglan nga ma-feel sa usa ka student or ma-feel sa usa ka estudyante nga belong sila, especially we are student-centered and inclusive ang way sa pag-learn. So, kinahanglan makabaluta. And then, yeah, learning environment matters. And the number 2 is the matter. When we say matter, it is the content of learning or ang sulod sa content or sulod sa lesson. Kinahanglan ato kana siya mahimutang ang atong mga activities, di ba nato lesson plan, so ang atong mga activities, and then ang sulod sa lesson, kinahanglan you as a teacher, kabalo ka, in order for you, nga ang mga students, or in order for us, nga makabalo ang mga students, kung dili na sila mag-wonder kay ikaw sa teacher kabalo na ka unsang topic, of course, especially kay mga nata sa elementary, and then daghan na sila mga question, and then the content of learning, if mo na kabalo or connected na siya sa objectives, then it's good. And then number 3 is the method, teaching and learning activities. So unsa ba imong way or unsa ba imong approach diri sa teaching and learning activities, diba? We all know again sa elementary ang ilang attention or ilang span of attention is mubo lang kayo, so you have to have different methods and different approach, especially in teaching and knowing teaching and implementing learning activities. Kinahanglan you have different approaches. Number 4 is the material or the resources of learning. So kinahanglan pod nga we, especially teachers, diba, kabalo na ta nga especially karon we are driven with technology, and dili tanang resources is legit or dili tanang resources is tinuod or reliable ang mga information. So kinahanglan pod nga we must know nga ang atong resources nga ginakuha, especially when we are teaching, is dapat legit. And then number 5 is the media or the communication system. So diri na mosulod ang technology, di ba? When we say media, of course, communication system. So bisag nag-use kag technology, kinahanglan gyapon nga we have this communication system nga dili nang kay sige kay we are in the age or diri na ta sa, di ba, ginatawag kay itang mga Gen Z ron kay tungod sa mga technology, and then it is because communication system dili lang kay ang mga student imo lang patanaw og video, sige kay include or integrate na natong technology kay, di ba, technology dili lang po sa tanang panahon, di kinahanglan technology lang gyud ang maglihok. Kinahanglan po ikaw nga teacher dili mo wala imong communication system, kinahanglan nga dili okay sige class, tanawa lang niyo mo yung assignment. Wala, without explanation, di ba? Okay, mo na itong lesson, tanaw lang mo video, di ba? Kaya wala ka kabalo if nakasabot ba nila or nakuha ba nila ang mga lesson. So, it is important nga ang imong communication system is naraghapon bisag ang technology is, di ba, we all know that the world is evolving and we have to adapt, change. And then number 6 is the motivation, arousing and sustaining interest in learning. In learning. So, di ba, naman na sa itong lesson plan, motivation is dili na siya bago sa atua. Para mahimo silang, ganado sila sa pagsugod pa lang sa klase, kinahanglan nga naa kay motivation. So, example sa motivation, imong pakantahon, para ma-awaken ilang energy, pakantahon, pasayawon, or di kaya naka ipabuhat nga activity. So, mauna siya ang nasa motivation. And then, number 7 is the mastery. When we say mastery, it is the internalization of learning. Kinahanglan nga you as a teacher, kinahanglan nga master po na nimo ang imong content of learning, or mo na internalization of learning. Kay dili man ka pwede usahay, di ba, sa Facebook mga makita nato nga okay ma'am, ka-familiar ba mo na kita mo itong video ni Teacher Jan sa Thailand nga okay ma'am, what is na siya, okay, that's your assignment, ihimo na lang assignment ang usa ka pangutana sa bata tungod ikaw nga teacher dili nimo master ang imuang specialization or dili nimo master ang imuang topic or imo ang lesson. Kinahanglan nga as a teacher you have to be mastered, especially on what you are teaching. And then lastly is the measurement. When we say measurement, it is the evidence that learning took place. So this measurement, of course, mo ni siya ang mga assessment, evidence that learning took place, kung tanawon ba if nakuha ba sa yung mga estudyante ang imo ang lesson. So dili na ni familiar na ta aning measurement, di ba? Then now, so pakita na ako sa inyo. This is Dale's Con of Experience. As you can see, ang nasa top, verbal symbols, visual symbols, still pictures, radio recordings, motion pictures, exhibits, field trips, demonstration, dramatic participation, and then sa bottom, nag-start siya sa dramatic participation, contrived experiences, and direct purposeful experiences. So, with a reference to the 8 M's of instruction, one element is media. So, nakita ba ninyo diha na ay kanang still pictures, video recordings, kana media. Another is the material. Diba? Material yung atong ginagamit. And then, these 2 M's, which is the media and the material, are actually elements of the cone of experience. Edgar, so, ang kuan ani, since pila ni sila kabok? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So, bali mo ra ni siya nahulog-hulog nga 5, Lima. Ang isa is media. Di ba? Verbal symbols, of course, naman na makita diha. Visual symbols, pwede na magamit og media. Still pictures, motion pictures, and exhibits. And then, another 5 is the material, kaning field trips, demonstration, dramatic participation. Nagkuan siya og mga materials. So, bali na-divide siya into 5, which is ang kaning first 5 is dito siya sa media, and then kaning last 5 is kaning sa material. So, these two ends, which is the media and material, are actually the elements of the cone of experience. And then Edgar Dale's cone of experience relates well with various instructional media which form part of the system's approach to instruction. Okay, so now let us proceed. So, the cone of experience is a visual model that shows a continuum learning. So, ang kaning makita ninyo diri wait. This cone of experience is continuum, or when we say continuum, of course, continuous ang learning. Okay? So, a pictorial device that presents band of experience. So it presents bands of experience. It does not strictly define the bands to be mutually exclusive but allows the fluid movement across the level. So, wala siya ka-define nga pictorial device that it has to be mutually exclusive, but then it allows us to be fluid movement across the levels, or dili go with the flow lang. It does not matter kung gaon na, di ba? Mo naman akong gingon ganiya. So, in fact, the sensory aids may overlap and even blend into one another, because kanina sa Edgar Dale's kind of experience, mostly nag-focus gyud siya sa mga mga senses, or paggamit sa senses on learning. Okay? So, for example, viewing a play is different from being a part of it. So, di ba, lahi rin kayo. And it is far different listening to somebody explaining architectural designs from actually explaining the plan. Okay, so, now, the version of Dale's cone of experience with percentage as to which band, by the way, ang atong ginatawag og band is katong mga, di ba, visual, ana-ana, katong 10 kabuok nga murag ana-ana, bitaw. Basta, mao na siya. Mo na siyang ginatawag na atong band, will hone higher order thinking skills and engage learners. So, mo na gingon nga wala siya matter kung naguna ba siya sa top or naguna ba sa bottom, because it will probably hone higher order thinking skills and engage learners. Okay, so engage learners more may be confusing, but it may not necessarily mean that learning better takes place when materials or activities belong to the upper level of the cone, that the nature of involvement is more active if it is in the bottom. So, wala nagpasabot na kung naa siya sa babaw, complex siya, and then kung naa siya sa ubos is mo to siya ang pinaka-lowest, or dapat dili bigyang pansin, because this cone of experience ni Dales is wala ni siya ga-matter as long as it go with the flow. So, for all the descriptive categorization of the learning experiences, other elements such as students' motivation to be engaged and learn how to be factored in as well. So, ang kuan lang gidani is how the students to be factored and how can they learn and ma-engage sila into learning. So, Dale's 1969 asserts that, according to him, the pattern of arrangement of the band's experience is not difficulty but degree of abstraction. So, ang mga bands sa ato, which is katong pinakauna, sunod, kadibatan, naman to sila kabuok, it is not difficulty, or dili siya kanang kauna sa mo ni ang easy, ang pinakauna, sige, mo ni giuna, kay mo ni ang hard, and kaning kinalasan mo ni ang easy. So, wala na siya nag-matter. So, the amount of immediate sensory participation that is involved. Ang matter is ang mga sensory, or ang motor sensory or immediate sensory nga naga-involved. So, napansin mo ninyo, di ba? Visual, pictures, or sa ba, audio, di ba? Mo to dadto. So, it does not matter kung arrangement of the body experience is not difficulty. Wala siya ga-matter. Kundi, it is the immediate sensory. Nag-focus gini siya sa mga senses na nag-participates or nag-involve sa learning. So, a still photograph of a tree is not more difficult to understand than a dramatization of Hamlet. So, kung ma-picture lang kag isa ka tree, di ba? It is not more difficult to understand. Dili siya lisod sabton kaysa ang dramatization of Hamlet. Kaya kinahanglan pa nimo mag-focus diha kung ngano man to nahitabo. Di ba? Abang-abangan gid nimo. It is simply in itself a less concrete teaching material than the dramatization. So, kung magamit kag picture lang, mas dali siya masabdan. And for example, dili na siya, it is simple, of course, and less concrete, especially in teaching. So, ang pasabot lang ato in our teaching, then, we do not always begin with direct experience at the base of the cone. So, dili po ta makaingon nga, kay nagsugod na sa base of the cone, direct experience lang. Rather, we begin with kind of experience that is most appropriate to the needs and abilities of particular learning situation. Then, of course, we vary this experience with many other types of learning activities. So, let us remember nga, when teaching, we begin with a kind of experience that is most appropriate according to their needs and abilities, because we all know that every student has their own needs and abilities. Okay? Masabtan ba? Okay, so now, let us proceed to the bands of now let us proceed to the Bonds and Dale's con of experience. So, nakita naman niyo ganiha, di ba, kung unsa to ang mga bands of experience. Number 1 is the direct purposeful experiences. This refer to the foundation of experiencing learning. Using the senses, meaningful knowledge and understanding are established. This is learning where one learns by doing. Of course, from the word itself, it is direct purposeful experience. So, this refers to the foundation of experiencing learning, di ba? Ang sa kasadyante, mga tanon magiging mo real life experience, and then using the senses, di ba, kung makita, mag-klase ka, di ba, ako pong teacher na, ako'y nakita, ngayong ani man to, ingani, and then, just using the senses, di ba, if makita nila, it is using the senses, if madungog nila, di ba, muna, if ilang matilawan, it's using the senses, and then, this is learning where one learns by doing. Sa sabutabol naman kayo na, no, dili na siya kinahanglan experience, i-explain, okay, and then, number 2, it is the contrived experiences. So it is in this category that representations such as models, miniatures, or mock-ups are used. There are things or events that may be beyond the learner's grasp, and so contrived experiences can provide a substitute. So here, sa contrived experiences, representation, models, or mga charts, mga graphs, sa pana is ginagamit para makalearn sila. But there are things that may be beyond the learner's grasp. So nagyay ubang mga learners nga ginatawag na tong slow learners, and then usay lisod gid sa ila process ang usa ka lesson, or lisod i-process sa ila ang usa ka lesson, and then diha na mosulod ang contrived experiences, and then i-share nimo nga example dili niya mag-gets tong certain word, and then through situation, then through contrived experiences is masabtan. So number 2 na to, mo na to siya ang 1-2. So, naguna ta ato sa bottom, ha, pero again, it doesn't matter kung ahataga human as long as ang katong bands of experience is makita na to. And then number 2 is dramatized experiences. So, from the word itself, dramatized experiences, of course, familiar na kayo sa ato. These are commonly used as activities that allow students to actively participate in a reconstructed experience through role-playing or dramatization. So, of course, kasagaran ba, bisang gani kita sa una sa atong mga teachers, ipahiyo man tag mga ipadramatize ang mga example, mga unsa nga short story, ipadramatize sa ato, di ba? So, familiar na kayo na, dili na ta mag-focus, ana. And then, next is demonstration. So, demonstration, it is the actual execution of a procedure or a process. It is an appropriate way of making the learning experience meaningful. So, for example, if you are presenting a lesson, and then nakita ka nga, okay, so, nasa imong klase is, si Jenna, nagputulog kahoy. So, of course, for example, demonstration, ikaw Jane, saan di pagputulog kahoy? So, of course, through demonstration, pwede kayo na magamit nga mo na siya ang nadato sa bands of experience and demonstration. It is an appropriate way of making the learning experience meaningful, kay it is through actions, diba? Although lahi lang sa dramatize, kay i-drama man yun, but dito kan i-demo, ipakita lang ang sa action through the student. Okay, next, number 5 nita is the study trips. So, when we say study trips, these are the actual visits to certain locations to observe a situation or a case that may not available inside the classroom. So, ang example aning study trips is ang field trips, di ba? Usahay or mga museum, for example, nga na, di ba? These are actual visits to certain locations to observe a situation, di ba? Dili man tanan available gyud sa classroom, especially if ang usa ka eskwelahan is dili gyud siya kanang dagko or basta dili gyud siya kanang dako nga eskwelahan, di ba? Mo nang usahay kasagaran pero mostly ginabuhat ni sa mga city sa ato dili man kay tanang gabuhat ani gawas kay gasto pa. Ang kwan pa ang safety sa mga bata as a teacher nga imo ang tulubagon if maunsa na sila. So or a case that may not available inside the classroom. Pero pwede ba usahay ka nang mag-experiment? Usahay sa gawas, pangbuhaton, di ba yung nga na. So, mabutang na gyapon kaning experiment kung dili lang sa ato abatin kung naka sa social, mao ni siyang katong mga field trips. And the next is the exhibits. So exhibits, these are display of models such as pictures, artifacts, posters, among others that provide a message or information. So it's more of like the study trips, di ba? Mura na siya sa museum, di ba? If dadon nimo yung mga student dito sa museum and then makita nimo nga mao din gigamit ni Jose Rizal sa una, mao din. So sabotable na kayo ang exhibits. So, mo ni siya ang katong sa materials nga na focus. And then next, diri na sa number 6 ba? 6 or 7. Okay, so next is the television and motion picture. So this allow learners to experience the situation being communicated through the mediated tools. So, mo na niya akong giingon ganiya sa akong introduction nga tungod kay we are driven with technology. Of course, dili kayo nga sige, tanaw lang mo diha because you're using technology. But no, this dapat television naman siya. This will allow learners to experience the situation being communicated through the media tools. So, sabotable na kayo na, di ba? Dili na kinahanglan. And then, this technology equipment provide a two-dimensional reconstruction. So, number 1, gawas ana, they provide a feeling of realism as viewers. Yeah. Try to understand the message portrayed by actors in the film. So, dire sa television, makita nila ang real. When we say real, ang kamatuoran, di ba? Ay, although dili man kayo nga kamatuoran nga kanang sa real life, jud, but then, mura bang makita nila nga, example, reflection, pabuhatan nila sila reflection nga, ay, if nga to di ay, ana, makabuhat sila, ingana. Next is the still pictures, recordings, and the radio. So together in this category are the audio recorded materials or information broadcast through the radio. Still are pictures and images. So of course, nag-use kaya punta ng technology. So sabotable na kayo na like sa pictures, recordings, and radio or information broadcast through the radio. And then next is the visual symbols. Symbols, I mean, grabe, sabotable na kayo nino. These are more abstract representations of the concept or the information. So, dili na natin explain kay ang kana pa lang ang visual symbols ang makita nila or the symbols. Example of these are information presented through a graph or a chart. Muna, kanang mga information nga nasa graph or a chart. And for example, a process can be presented using a flue chart. And then, last but not the least is the verbal symbols. So this category appears to be the most abstract because they may not exactly look like the concept or object they represent but are symbols, words, codes, or formula. So now, in addition, Brunner's three-tiered model of learning points out that every area of knowledge can be presented and learned in 3 distinct steps. Number 1, ang atong ginatawag inactive or a series of action. So, makalearn ang mga students through a series of action. And then, number 2, of course, number 1, a series of action. So, mura na siya katong demonstration. Kaya kung ipakita pa lang sila na slide idea. And the number 2 is the iconic. When we say iconic, it is a series of illustrations or actions. So, sabotable na kayo na, diba? Illustrations, magapakita kag mga pictures, mga videos, and then similar, it's kind of similar sa inactive. And then number 3 is symbolic, a series of symbols. Diba? For example, sa math, ipakita mo ang sign or symbol sa addition. Diba? Makabalo na sila. Kung sa ang symbol sa division, o sa mag-drawing kag circle, diba? Symbol naman ng circle, yun sila, it's a circle. Of course, because they know kung unsa ba. So, with young learners, it is highly recommended that a learner proceed from inactive. So, dapat magunagi siya sa inactive to iconic. So, it is a series. When it's a series, of course, dapat magsunod. Maguna sa inactive, next is iconic, and then lastly is symbolic, because a young learner would not be rushed to move to immediate abstraction at the highest level without the benefit of gradual unfolding. Ang sa learner dapat dili diretso lang ang atong symbolic, kinahanglan mag-agi pag siya sa pinakasugod. However, when the learner is matured and capable to direct his own learning, it may move fluidly across the cognitive experience. Kay ang mga student is dali ro siya makagrasp sa isa ka topic, dali siya makagrasp sa ka lesson, then it will direct on his own learning. Magsunod na siya, mura na siya nga tang 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 tang. Sunod na siya sa cone of experience ni Dale. So, I think more na akong report, and yeah, that's all. So thank you for everyone. I thank you everyone. I mean, thank you for listening, and that's all.